everybody.
Oh, Taylor.
Ding, 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 ding. Whatever.
Doing good.
We call this crowd of pilots together and to order. Then we got Greg. Trouble all the time.
What now?
How are you?
Pardon, I'm sorry.
No problem. Just gotta look over the crowd, see who we have. This is awesome. How is everybody?
Great.
Like JD's I got a smile out of him. I said, no more taxes for a while. He was big old grin. Right? Was your tax season weird this year?
They're always weird.
They're always weird. They all have different personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Welcome to the May rendition of the IMC Club at IA. We are delighted that you're here spending some time with us. You don't have rain or hail. Did you look at the radar before?
Yeah, the attack was just horrible all day long, but it never happened.
Cleared right up.
Well, I wouldn't say it cleared up.
I get, because I live in the mountains now, CDOT has this little paging or texting thing. If you're wanting to go over Monarch Pass, right now you have to have chains or traction laws going on right now.
Somebody told me they had golf ball size hail yesterday in Golden.
Yes, in fact, one of our instructors, his house is up
window
there.
blown out in the hell yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, car windows were
It's shattered. Something about Colorado Mills Mall is going to be shut down. They had some really bad stuff. I heard about that. So anyway, so today, the normal agenda, we've got a little kickoff video. We've got some guests and a new member. And then we have a special guest. So that'll be fun. The first thing is I thought I'd kick off our meeting with this. Why do you stay away from thunderstorms? I'd like to have that going on short file.
That's going to be an expensive cleaning bill.
For the inside.
Yeah.
Right. This next one is pretty scary.
What happened?
That one wasn't?
Well, you know, no, because how would you like to be the ground crew on this?
Holy mackerel.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Whoa, Sparker.
Watch.
Does it show it again?
No, it was,
Yeah, here it goes.
looks like it's somewhere in South America.
Wow.
Look at the front gear.
See,
Oh,
discharge
yeah.
on the nose.
There were two guys underneath it.
Look at that run away.
Yeah, 200 didn't grab one of those guys.
He said, "Did you ground it?"
It-
Oh, man, oh, man.
Amazing. Just continues on the ground.
Was it just
We thought it would stop at the airplane,
Runs right on.
How many times did you try?
They're just slowing it down.
right?
This last one gets struck a couple of times.
So what happens to the avionics?
They've been struck by them.
We're gonna find out.
He's in the Atom airplane. They got
Look
you.
at that.
An accident.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it's that. It's just
8380.
And it can't hurt you because you're not John.
No, I've heard John Express.
And so I tried to Google small plane lightning strikes,
And burn off.
and nobody's gotten one of those. But Mike, for your big iron, have you ever been struck?
Yeah,
What happened?
we lose our vision for a little bit, that flash on the radome, especially at night. Now you're white, you got the whirling look for a few seconds there. But yeah, we try to avoid getting hit by that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get stuck in a spot where you're, say in the LA basin, you get the mountains to the north, and you're getting vectored in the cell looks like it's far enough away, but tangentially you see the lightning, especially in cruise, you can see lightning flying out of the tops of these things in all directions. So you don't have to be right near the core to take a strike.
Right. So have you had St. Elmo's fire?
Oh yeah, that's pretty common.
Ron, you do the big stuff.
A lot of
That's
that.
where all the metal parts start.
And you can see where it exits here from too.
Like
Pinholes in the skin.
Really?
When you get hit.
But
right?
No,
There's
no,
seven
that's
of
just,
them.
it's a lot of
Does it
stuff.
ever disturb the electrical instruments?
It didn't, I've been hit twice where I knew it was really hit. It never did.
You know, it's
Because
best,
you're not grounded.
Yeah.
it's best to see St. Elmo's fire on propellers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Have you seen that,
It'll
Bob?
light up the whole disc.
Wow. So, like with that 7-4 departing, would they have come back around, or they
No,
just?
just proceed on. Unless something that malfunctioned. Normally it hits near the radome, and it's gonna exit off of a static wick or some sharp edge.
Okay.
And generally they would just continue if there's no anomaly. Normally that doesn't really, might hit the radome or burn off a static discharge switch.
Scare the heck out of the pilots or
And
passengers.
everybody's right. But the passengers wouldn't know that there's a flash nearby.
Right.
I think it's a stroke.
Yeah.
Got a Falcon 10 at night, got lightning struck us, everything went black for a moment, we thought we lost it, or maybe we did go blind, I don't, but it hit right by the pitot tube, and it distorted the tube, had to replace that big black streak all along the side from that tube back.
Wow. So was that on approach, cruise?
No, at altitude, yeah,
Your electronics were okay.
yeah, everything.
Yeah, if you get high enough, I don't know if you find some video of it, but a cowering thunderstorm and maybe a line of them, lightning can be popping out the top in all directions. Pretty fantastic view we get, so.
And we weren't in we weren't in the weather at the time. I mean, so we'd come from the cloud to
God.
cloud to the airplane.
But we're trying not to fly where that happens.
Yeah.
So it's just,
I remember going into New York once, it was darker than heck, and I thought, what are we doing? And there was lightning all the way, but we never got into it, it was all up to the left. Cool, all right. Well, we have a new member, Ron, who joined us. Ron, give us just a quick overview of your aviation experience. Yeah, we'll move on. Sorry about that.
I retired recently from a long career in corporate aviation. I worked for Liberty Global, and we operated a Falcon 7X, the latest airplane, along with, I started out in the West Wing, the Falcon 50, Falcon 900, Challenger 601. We flew a lot of different airplanes over the years, but it was a great career. I started out in the Navy during the Vietnam era, and just been flying with, except for a couple of years, all my life. So it's great to be retired. I really enjoy being on my own schedule instead of somebody else's. And I came in, sat in, because Don had told me about the IMC Club. And this is great that you guys all sit down and do this. I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
What kind of plane do you have?
What's that?
What kind of plane do you have?
Oh, I've been flying Cirruses, just
Yeah.
running on one at the moment.
Great, well, we are delighted to have you join. And we have a couple of guests. David Ames, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, David Ames. I'm always dreamed of flying. Took up flying about 4 years ago. I was one of those really fast students. It only took me a little over 2 years and 500 landings to get a private pilot's license. 512 landings the day I got my license. I bought a 210 to learn in. Just past 500 hours with few months ago, got my ticket June of 15, so about a year and a half to get to 500 hours. Got my instrument ticket 4 or 5 months ago. Flying a Turbo 210, except it's going to be down for a little while, so I'm flying one of Bob's Turbo Sears right now.
Great. And then I just have to tell this story. I've been trying to get one person in this room to come for like months, because when my family had a T-hanger here, and so this guy wanted to buy it, and we got along great and stuff, and I said, you gotta come to the IMC Club. He sent him 5 or 6 messages, then Tusky got him here. This is Jim Bunky. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Minnesota originally, just moved here to be vice president of sales for basically the 4 corners for Gulfstream. Been selling airplanes for 38 years. Learned to fly at a young age and went to school at the University of North Dakota, instructed there during my college years, and have a 836 Bonanza. I made it through his hazing process on buying his hangar. I had to go through an interview process to buy the family hangar.
Will you treat it well?
Yeah.
Are you treating it well?
Yes. Love it.
So is it free rides for the group in the Gulfstream for?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. What I say is that I don't sell many, but I do give some great demonstrations.
Do you have to pay for your job, or do they actually pay you?
Yeah, no, they do pay me.
I happened to be in Savannah 2 weeks ago, and I'd never been in there before. And that's, Gulfstream owns every square inch of that thing except where the terminal building is. And pretty impressive to see all the airplanes out there.
Hold them out.
Yeah.
It's just 650 is it out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the G500, G600 are getting close to, at least the 500 is getting close to certification. But in Savannah, we build the 450, 550, 500, 600, and 650.
That's great. Thank you for coming. We also have, for your enjoyment, a bunch of IA instructors here today. Colin Kranger is one of the more recent instructors to join the Corps. Of course, you know Bob and Chuck. We have Bob Shank. We have Kevin Shepard in as well. We love having you guys as well get that sort of rounded experience. So I think that's it. So there are no new developments. Unless you have something. Come up with any. Yep.
Yeah, I had a question. Have you talked to anybody who's had their Cirrus struck by lightning? I'm curious if mine will flash on me or what.
No.
Nobody's been hit? Really?
I've never heard anybody say anything about it.
It's interesting, when you see them in the factory, all of the metal striping throughout the airplane, give a passageway for the lightning.
Right, and they come out the wicks, right. Yeah. No, I knew that. I just wonder if they keep, if the avionics stays working and all that stuff.
Quite proven, quite fast.
Yeah,
So my
okay.
fiberglass DA42 got hit, but it also has the mesh on it and it goes
No
out the
problem.
back. Yeah, and then there was a pinhole on the wing, and
Where it hit and then.
yeah, and it was actually my partner was flying up way north up in Canada, and was outside the clouds, and it just got struck, and then he flew it all the way home. So it was in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, and nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
went through the diamond,
Really?
checklist of things that had to be replaced. It was pretty uneventful, other than fixing the fiberglass.
Seriously,
It's, I can tell you what happens if you don't have that mesh strapping through the airplane. I'm sitting in my office or home one day, it's a beautiful day out, there's some clouds in the distance, it's not raining or anything like that, and all of a sudden I kind of feel something, and I took a look out the window, and there's a giant Russian olive tree about 25 feet from the house, and there's this bolt of lightning going until the top half of this tree just kind of goes.
Wow.
I'm going, I mean,
25 feet.
So you could feel it though, kind of.
just somewhere.
The static,
Okay,
yeah.
Static, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, I've heard that, I've never experienced
It's
it.
the ionization of the air.
Yeah, interesting.
Before the lightning bolt hits, there's a big area of ionization.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. As you know, we are having a question of the month by our folks in Oshkosh. Let's see if that's...
So I'm surprised under new develops you didn't have the new medical.
Well, we
It's
had
not
it
the
last
youngest one
month,
here, but- Okay. I'll
so
miss
I
that
didn't
one,
want to
sorry.
beat a dead horse. But
Definitely.
that's okay. So, have a look at this departure. Have you guys flown out, anybody flown out of Powhatan?
I used to be a flight instructor there.
Did you really?
I used to live in an apartment on the approach.
Long, long time ago.
Wow.
We, you might solo, if you flew with me, you might solo and have never flown in the daytime. Because it would start in Chicago in the wintertime about 4:30,
Mhm.
and we'd have to pick some weekend there, whenever somebody's free to fly in the daytime, so they could get some daytime experience.
Way over the night requirement.
Oh, yeah, look at their book, they have almost 30 hours at nighttime flies,
Yay.
and soloed at night.
So in this departure, you see that table up here, what does that mean?
Did you?
There's no terrain around Milwaukee, let me
There
add that
is.
to the story.
Except for the apartment.
Except for
There is, but it's
except for
flat.
Sears Tower.
I was gonna say that.
So up here, no wind bank angles, so you've got a bank angle and you've got a speed, a maximum ground speed. And if you look, they're depicting it here.
That's turn radius.
Yeah. So I think there's a note, the turn radius of less than 5,000 feet is required. So they're saying at a 5-degree bank angle, you can be going 70 knots and make that. But if you're going 122, you better be in a 15-degree bank and no wind.
And is that for one runway only, or
It's
is it
for runway 16.
so
keep
the
you
Class
out of
B
air.
must be in the way?
Yeah, if you look, O'Hare right here.
Yeah.
So, here's the answer.
Your license is at stake.
And what's interesting, that's a private tower, not a federal tower.
Oh, is it?
Or it was at the day.
That's a good airport to do no SIDS or stars when you're flying out of.
It had to be JD said that.
Expect
a
5-hour delay.
Kind of interesting stuff.
Glenview Naval Air Station was just north, and it's not, I don't think it's in
No.
commission anymore, now O'Hare just south,
It's a
so,
Cool.
houses.
okay.
So, pretty interesting. All right. So today, we are joined by a good friend of IA and ours. Let's see, Carrie. I think you've been on the TRACON tour. Who else has been on there? Yeah, that's right. So Jeff is a supervisor over at Denver TRACON, and he's awesome because he treats us really well. When we do these tours, I try and kind of keep it down to a small number of people, and he lets us plug in with the controllers for, I don't know, the last time, I think we were in that room for an hour. It was awesome. We just went to each different scope and that, and so Jeff is here, and this is one of the groups of folks that went on a tour with us, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to ask him all kinds of fun, it come with a stumping question, right? and ask him, and he's got some pretty cool things to show us today. So let's give Jeff IMC Club welcome.
Yeah, Tyler, he wouldn't let me talk on the radio though. I couldn't figure out why.
Hey, Jeff, before you get going, so I don't interrupt you, but at 7 o'clock, we got a group of Boy Scouts coming in to fly to Sim and do a pre-flight with me, so
Okay.
I'll get up and walk out, so I just don't want you to know I did.
Wasn't anything you said.
All right. Well, as he said, I'm Jeff Hamilton. I've worked at the TRACON for 18 years, long time. Before that, I was at Denver TRACON. Before that, I worked at Centennial TRACON for 5 years. So I've been in control for a long time. I was a pilot before that. A friend of mine got me to take the air traffic test, and so well, I wouldn't do that, so I could do both, and just kept my flying up over the years. So anyway, we're not going to talk so much about IFR on what I'm going to talk about today. It's more kind of a VFR stuff, but I think it's good information, especially here at Denver. It's been kind of a problem that we're aggressively working on over there at the TRACON. It's more of a problem with the airlines than it is the VFR guys and the GA. We're going to talk about the Class B excursions. The primary purpose of the Class B airspace area is to reduce the potential for major collisions in the airspace surrounding the airports with high-density air traffic operations. Excuse me. As you all know, a lot of traffic around here. More of it is outside the Bravo than in the Bravo a lot of times. 1,200 cars running around and people being worked and practice approaches and what have you. So it can get very busy around here.
Are you still on the radio, or do you just?
I have to be on the radio 8 hours a month is all.
Okay.
So, and sometimes that's hard to get, but, so no, so I only work it when it's not very busy now. I've been supervising for 10 years, so I let the younger generation do all
Does that
that.
mean you're
They're
there at
very
like
good.
3 in the morning then?
I'm sorry?
Does that mean you're there at like 3 in the
No.
morning then?
No, see, I used to have to do that, but when you're a super,
We don't do that anymore.
nope. This is just a graph of one day of the arrivals and departures in and out of Denver. So the red are all the departures, and the green are all the arrivals. And we were landing south, as you can see. So these guys are coming on the base leg here, and these are all coming to the downlands. That's how that works. So that gives you an idea. That's just in and out of DIA. So we've run, I don't know, 2,000, 2,500 just to DIA. And then, of course, upwards of 4 in the whole TRACON area. Denver Class B.
Just a quick question on that. If
Go
you're
right
coming in, you know, on the downwind like that, how many times do you have to speak to each
Well,
plane?
we used to have to talk a lot. As I don't know how much of you guys know this. This is Powder and this is Larks, and these are arrivals. They used to just be an arrival to the VORs. They go to Mile High and Falcon. Now they put in the RNAV arrivals. So now all the step downs, turns, and speeds are done by the pilot instead of us.
So you just say descend.
They
via
come
this-
in, they say we're descending via, and we say, Roger, expect runway 16 right?
Okay.
And
so
we're
they
done.
come all the way around until just contact tower, basically, or how
No,
far does it take
we'll
them
ship
around?
them to the final approach controller, and he vectors everybody so they can get in line. But the only thing, if you get 2 of them side by side, you're gonna pick one up to 280, and you'll have to slow him to 230 and let it pull apart like this. Then you get a match, and then they'll fall right in the downwind together.
Okay.
That's about the only thing we have to do anymore. Or if it's an airplane that is not on an RNAV, some of them still come in on what we call the legacy. They're going to the VOR. We have to descend them, vector them, slow them, all that stuff. So this RNAV has made our job, well, the frequency congestion a lot less. So controllers at first, no way I can vector better than this. This is not going to work. And now they all love it. So it saves us a lot. But anyway, let's see. So Class B. So I'm going to kind of jump over here. I hope I don't block anybody's view, but I'm having a hard time seeing this. So
Why don't you sit in?
all right, I'll do that.
Have a seat.
I got a question.
There's a command voice.
I got a question. So let's say you're up here at Boulder, and you take off, and you call approach, and you say, hey, I want some VFR flight following and traffic advisors, and I'm going down to Meadow Lake. Okay? Okay? squawk such and such, your radar contact and the Denver altimeter such and such. And here you go, and you're at 7,500 feet. And you go just like this, and you come over here and you go just like that. Okay? Across both those airports at 7,500. Who says you have to get a clearance from Jeff Cotar and Centennial Tower to do that? And who says you do not?
I say you do, to transition.
It's 7,500?
That's, yeah, 7,500,
Yeah, so you
which
go-
penetrates both Class Delta airspaces.
Yeah, I'd say you do.
Isn't the TRACON managing that?
All right, show of hands, what do we got?
Who says no?
I'm gonna say.
Okay. Who says yes, you gotta call both towers? Our book says when you depart and we radar identify you, you as the pilot are not expected to call each controlling agency that you transition through. So you do not have to call them.
Now, if you're 1,200, you do.
Yes, now if you're on your own, and you're not getting radar advisories, then that's true.
Okay.
So, it's kind of, I mean, even me as a pilot's like, ooh.
Yeah.
But we transition a lot of guys across Buckley.
Is that because you're talking to those towers? and
We call the
saying,
tower, and we say, point out, such and such, we'd like to go through at 75. They'll either say, point out approved, or say, unable. So, all right, fly heading such and such for traffic or whatever, we turn you. So, it is our job to call those towers and point you guys out. You're not required to call
It
them.
makes sense, think of just a Class C airspace that might only have one airport.
Right.
You'd talk to one approach and departure maybe, and they'd clear you through, you wouldn't have to talk to the tower.
Jeff, you guys call, for instance, Centennial Tower. If I'm coming in from the southeast with radar,
Okay?
would you call Centennial Tower for me and tell them I'm coming?
No, you're displayed on their scope if you're tagged up and we're working you.
Yeah.
If you're on a discrete code,
Uh-huh.
they're deep right. I don't even think it's that anymore.
So the reason I ask is because if I don't get off your frequency and call them before the D airspace, they get fussy with me. You see?
Well, we are supposed to ship you before that.
Right,
So we've
right.
not done our job if you're still talking to us and you're 2 miles from the airport.
Well, and I've wised up to it a long time ago, and when it happens, I'll prompt, hey, I
Yeah.
want to make the frequency
Hey, we're going
change.
over to tower.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's
yeah,
never,
yeah, okay.
and that's never been a problem, but I know that I've had the tower controllers come in and talk with groups in here before, and they say, oh, you come in and Denver approach turns you over right at our border, we're gonna get fussy with you.
Well, then that's a problem between the tower and the TRACON, not with
Okay.
you. So, and if they yell at you on the radio, say, hey, look, man, approach just turned me over. That's why I'm calling you now or whatever, so.
Thank you.
That's the answer I give them.
When we're shooting practice approaches, does the tower then know that we're kind of up there because you've told them?
Yeah, we can do the VFR practice approaches all day. You're on there, they see you,
Okay.
and if there's alternate misapproach instructions we want the tower to give, we call and say, give that guy whatever. So it's all done via the landline.
Really? This is a landline you're calling them on?
Well, it's a, we call it a landline.
Okay.
It's a dial-up.
Hello?
In the old days, you called it
Put up right on the quarters.
Some old ladies going, hey, you
You
give
know,
us
all I do is push one button and I'm hot to Centennial
You have
Tower.
a special frequency range.
It's not even a frequency, it's a phone line, literally. But when I press the button, there's no dialing. I'm hot in their speaker immediately, and I start talking. And then they'll answer, so, same thing does. It's a lot quicker than,
Yeah.
If this is an emergency, dial 911.
so, I wanted to go over that, just so you know.
That is interesting.
So that's flight following and a squawk fix.
Yes. Be more specific on your question.
No, I'm just asking because, I mean, sometimes under flight following, I've had them forget to tell me things.
That can happen, yes. Most of the people now at the TRACON have learned because they've gotten in trouble by letting a guy, and then Jeffco calls and goes, what's this guy doing?
Right.
And then you get into one of those. So most of us are going to say, your radar contact and proceed as requested, remain outside the Class Delta Metro and Centennial. And then now you're forced to navigate around it.
Right.
Because we
I've
told
heard
you to
that
stay
before,
outside.
yeah.
You want to make sure you put that on your NASA form, Karen.
That's just easier for us, and you probably don't want to go through the traffic pattern anyway, so.
Hey, you guys.
Safer for everybody.
You can tell them unable too, because of demand.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's not unusual.
We would call the tower and they would tell us unable usually, or they would, Jeffco is just a lot slower. They've never disapproved it that I know of. Yeah, go ahead. Go to Boulder a lot from the south, and people wanted to send. So we call them up all the time and go through there. They don't have an issue. This is a picture of the Class B, as you can see, and all those yellow dots you can see from August of 15 to July of 16. These are all airplanes, but probably 80% of them are large turbine-powered airplanes. These are airliners that, for various reasons, which we'll talk about, have left the Class Bravo airspace. Either we vectored them out, or they've done it on their own. And the whole idea, as we talked about earlier about the Bravo, was separating all those 1,200 coach and all the little guys from all the big guys. When we're ILSing and things like that, we're required to keep you in the Bravo as a large turbine-powered pilot, the airliners. If we have to take you out of the Bravo for traffic or whatever, we have to tell you, you're leaving the Class Bravo, you're re-airing 5 miles or whatever, so you know. And then we'll try to get you back in.
Why is that important for the operator of that particular aircraft?
If you're flying an A321 and I tell you you're leaving the Class Bravo airspace, what would that put in your mind?
You can go faster?
Watch out. You're gonna be with
What's
that-
operating outside Bravo airspace?
Oh, well,
I already said it.
1,200 codes, they're everywhere.
All of those aren't because they left going up.
These are all coming in, these are all coming in,
They
not
just send
going
it
up.
below the floor.
Correct.
So, but the question is, why are they leaving Bravo?
Well, that's a good question. That's the problem we're
But
working
you're
on.
still responsible for separation, even though they're not in Bravo, right? No?
Yes and no. Here's where, let me just continue
Okay,
and
I'm
we'll talk
sorry,
about
yeah.
it. That's okay.
Yeah, not.
This is a huge problem right here.
Yeah.
Huge. And as you know, Centennial, boom, you're coming across here at 75, here's the Bravo at 8. Huge problem right here. These guys come in, dandy quail, they're way back here, and they say, we got the airport in sight. And we say, you're clear visual approach on way 35 right. And these guys just dive down to 7,000 as quick as they can, because they can go down fast, and when they level off, it's easier to dirty the airplane up than when they're descending. But they don't realize that they're really breaking an FAR by doing that. You've got to be aware of that when you're flying those bigger airplanes.
And their ops manual doesn't allow them to fly outside of the Class B. If they're within Class B airspace, we have to stay within Class B airspace. Unless ATC takes us, says you, because a lot of the outer markers are right at the floor of that Class B until the next segment. And so it's easy to, if you're, like you say, if you're a little bit low, to violate the floor.
Well, in theory, the Bravos that I know of, you cannot be on the glide slope and go out of the Bravo.
Not on the glide slope, the initial, the intermediate fix.
And that,
If you don't honor that, you can, but I'll let you carry on.
yeah, I don't,
I can tell you Memphis Class B is.
the floor of it is at the final approach fix?
There or for a non-precision, they have a problem. You have to, and it's one they train all the time. And I know it's close here, but
Yeah.
it's.
Does somebody write these guys a letter when they do this?
I'm sorry?
Does somebody write these guys a letter when they do this?
We are aggressively talking to the airlines and letting them know
That's, I mean,
what the problem is.
I do this, I get a phone call.
We have talked to some pilots. I have them call on occasion and say, you know, you need to read 91-131.
Like if I go off of the track, or if I accidentally penetrate Bravo, chances are I'm gonna have a conversation with somebody.
Maybe. Depends on how alert we are. This is an example of an airliner coming in, just as I was speaking of. He's tagged for 35 right. As you can see that we've gotten rid of all the call signs for, we don't want to tell on anybody.
To protect the guilty.
Exactly. This is his altitude right now. He's 10-1, okay? And this is the target of the airplane right here. He's an A321. He's doing 250 knots of ground speed. He's been cleared for the visual approach. Okay? So as you can see, he's going right to the final approach fix, and then coming into land. That's the threshold right there, the runway. Okay? So here, and you can all the Class Bravo altitudes there. So once that happens, here's front range, and everybody likes to fly out of front range, and here comes a guy, he's at 67 on a 1200 code, he's doing 110 knots. Okay? So now, here's the next slide, and our conflict alert goes off. We call that the cock out. When you get that, and it goes beep, 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 beep. It's to get our attention. Our controller saw this, and he tells this guy right here, traffic 1 o'clock, 5 miles, southbound, altitude indicates 6,700. Here's his mode C, at 75, here's the mode, that's where he should be.
500 below.
He's already 500 below the Bravo and descending. Okay?
Still at 250.
Yeah. Yeah, when we clear them, they love to go fast and just throw everything out at the last second. That's
Isn't the
a
speed
lot
limit 200 under the Bravo?
Under.
Well, that's ground speed. We don't know what their airspeed is.
But you're right, under is
Yes.
200.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be under
No, he's not. He was cleared for the visual, and the requirement, which I'll get to in a minute, we'll read that, is once you're cleared, it's your responsibility to stay in the Bravo as the pilot. Large turbine-powered airplanes, between 41,000 pounds and less than 300,000.
That's kind of the opposite problem we have. We have to stay out of the Bravo. They're supposed to stay in the Bravo.
Exactly. So we issue the traffic. This guy says, we're looking. We're not obviously talking to that guy. And here's the next slide. Here he is at 7. The 1200 code obviously saw him and says, I'm getting out of here, and climbed above him. Wow. Frontier did see him when they were about to merge. He said, I'm sorry, I just gave you one.
We didn't hear you say first.
Okay, good. He said, we got the traffic in sight. Okay. So, anyway, this is the problem with these guys doing this, and it is not that uncommon they do it. And all airliners, or all companies seem to do it. There's not like one that does it and one that does not.
What
They're
do
all
you
as
think?
guilty as one another.
What do you think the guy coming from Front Range thought when he saw that Airbus go by 100
Well-
feet above him?
Yeah.
I happened to get a call the next day from a friend of mine and said, I don't know if you know, but we accidentally got in the Bravo, but we had a reason to do it. And I go, oh, and he says, yeah, we were here. I go, yeah, I was at work that day when this happened. I said, I know what you're talking about. So, anyway, so I found out who that was later.
So you knew the GA pilot
They were in a Skyhawk.
blasting off at 110.
With an Airbus right in front of them.
Below him.
250.
So you can see the potential for the problem here, and why we're aggressively getting on these airlines to fix this and say, you guys gotta do this, because we've been to their meetings, hey, we don't even have the Bravo depicted on our map, you know, it's like,
Well, get out of
that's
that.
not really a good enough excuse.
Why didn't somebody just tell them, don't go below 8,000? Stupid.
You're on a visual approach. We, a lot of times will tell the pilot, although we're not required in this situation because he left it on his own, you're leaving the Class Bravo, you'll re-enter in 6 miles. When they leave it on their own, we're not really required to tell them. When we take them out, purposely on a vector, we're required to tell them. We still tell them a lot of times, you've left the Bravo, you're going to re-enter in 5 miles, and there's 4 1200 codes off your left and right at various altitudes. Trying to get them to wise up. Maybe I should climb back into the Bravo. There's nothing wrong with doing that, in my opinion.
You know, over the years, we trained for these Class B. They gave you a scenario on our sims that you could violate Class B. And LA is a classic if you're on one of the arrivals to the final approach. Memphis, and I think I have to get out. I've flown in here a while, but you can, they're close where you might violate it. But
He's a FedEx guy.
but we used to.
That doesn't make him a bad person, for God's sake.
Well,
Did you fly Frontier
he's
this
going to
way?
get to the spot where I was in a cockpit with a bad person. And he's a friend of mine. He didn't mean to be bad, but he was doing 7,000 feet a minute up when it happened. But
He's not bad, he's just
Still
going that
172.
way.
well, in any case, if the airlines don't train for these excursions, the guys aren't cognizant of looking it up. And it used to be that only the main airport, let's say it's LAX and you're going into Hawthorne, that's the only place you could find a Class B chart is to go to LA. The outlying airports, Santa Barbara, whatever, weren't, you had to know to go to the primary airport to see the Class B chart.
Also, on that subject, if you're going to Hawthorne instead of LAX, you don't have to stay in the Bravo, because it's only
Yeah,
based upon the primary airport of the Bravo.
yeah, yeah.
So if you're going to those other outlines, that doesn't apply.
But you just have to honor the.
I would be careful, yeah.
You gotta
I try
honor
to
the
stay in
wedding
as
cake
much as I
and,
can.
and ensure that you're not within that space, so.
Why don't you just keep them on the star on the way in? I mean, there must be a minimum altitude on that. right?
Well, he was on the Star, and we very commonly clear these guys because it's such good visibility here. You got the airport, 12 o'clock, 2 miles, yep, clear visual approach, 35 right.
It tightens
The sooner
up
we can turn them loose,
separation.
that's what they want, and then that kind of relieves us of kind of what we're doing. It's like, hey, turn the guy loose. He wants to do it anyway, so.
Yeah.
That's what.
You know, I've done aerobatics in my RV-7 just outside where he was coming in.
Down here?
And I'm outside the B, right, and I'm at 12,000 feet.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and I know you're supposed to stay away so many miles from the, Victor Airways. But I've been doing aerobatics, turned around and looked around at a jet going by.
Yeah.
And I go, man, what's the deal with that?
You gotta be
I'm
careful.
like
They come in,
12,000.
they descend to 13 right out here.
That's,
And then as soon as they hit this little, there's a box out here that you can't really see, they can go to 12.
That's a really good place for people to do
quail,
aerobatics.
is that the quail arrival
Yeah.
over there? Yeah. So
standing
look
quail.
at the quail arrival and you see where to stay
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at
so
your,
stay away from the arrival stuff.
look at your
when you're-
But you can
arrivals,
look at them,
stay
but
away.
that's quail over there, as I recall.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
moving on here, so I don't take up too much time, but this is an example. This is Saturday, August 27th. Those are all 1,200 codes flying around Denver. So as you can see, that's a lot of movement of GA airplanes, right? Look at the front range, it's solid green. And look, everybody did a good job of staying outside the Bravo, look at that. There's one guy right there. He cheated just a little.
Who was that guy? Jeff, who was that guy? That's don't care. But, and the colors are based on their altitudes. So, but you could see, there's just a ton of traffic around this place. So, going back to this slide, I see a lot of times, guys take off with Centennial, and they climb to 7,900 feet right here. 79. And here comes my guy on 3.5 left, and he's at 8 because he's in the Bravo. Gotta be careful. 100 feet in the lot, and it'll look a lot less when you're looking at a heavy, whatever. They're big airplanes, and they'll roll you over if you get under that too.
Jeff, can you go back to the previous slide from this one?
One more?
No, one more. Where you got all the things where you're showing the there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So would it
overlay
make
those
sense
two.
if we took off out of Centennial and went pretty much a little bit southeast to stay away from where all the yellow blobs are go right out to the right now?
Mhm.
And then cut up to Front Range, just from a safety standpoint?
Well, what I was gonna suggest is, usually what I'll do, I'll go at 75.
Right.
Give myself 500 feet
That
instead
wouldn't-
of 100 feet.
That wouldn't help with that 121 coming in there.
No, it's not gonna help with anybody violating the Bravo, the airliner's just sending out of it, so.
It just looks like there's less of a threat the further south you
There
stay.
probably would be. If you went like this,
Yep.
yeah, you're correct. Probably be less of a threat. I'm not gonna say it happens. I would say it happens now 4 or 5 times a day. It used to happen 25 times a day. It's a lot. And this particular incident really got us going to talk to the airlines. It's like,
So
you
what
guys gotta
happens if
knock
there
this
was a
off.
midair with a big plane? Who's in trouble? You guys, the airline, everybody, huh?
Everybody's gonna have something to fight in that, I think. You know, the poor 1,200 code, he was minding his own business at 67 right here. He's outside the Bravo. Okay? But he, you know, a little bit, he climbs into it just a little bit, obviously to miss that airplane. Because we told this guy that 1 o'clock and out to indicate 6,700.
It keeps going down.
My thinking is, I'm gonna stop descending. He's down there, I'm up here.
Yeah.
But he went down to 7 for whatever reason. Okay, so there's that, and here is 91-131. Must otherwise authorize agencies for a large turbine engine powered airplane to or from the primary airport which Class B airspace is designated, must operate at or above the designated ports of the B airspace while in the ladder limits. And that's viewed basically on a visual approach if you're flying that big airplane.
That's just as serious of a rule as us staying out of the Bravo without
Oh, yeah.
clearance.
So,
Well, that's the basis for all the separation.
see, if something would have happened with Frontier, right there, he's in big trouble.
Mm.
We're in trouble.
But isn't he in trouble anyway? I mean, shouldn't he, you got those 5 guys, to Jade's point. I mean, if I violated the Bravo, I expect to get a call. So shouldn't those 5 guys get a call every day?
Most of them are getting calls. A lot of times we call chief pilots and say, here's the flight number, this is what happened, we need this to stop. And we kind of let the airline fix their own problems sometimes.
But at some point, isn't somebody looking to take action against them?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point, not just that, but there's other things going on, especially altitude bus, that the TRACON is taking more action against pilots who are doing this.
Well, just reverse, it would be unlikely for me, for instance, to drift out of Class B, but to accidentally drift in it. That could cost me a 90-day suspension.
I doubt it. We've had people go through the Bravo. We had a Pilatus, let me give you a little example here. We had a Pilatus one day, took off out of Centennial, went out east, right up to 17.5, right through Then, about 20 east, he calls approach and says, I'd like some traffic advisories. Somewhere in Ohio.
And they said, we'd like to talk to you too.
Yeah, I bet you would. And we got a phone number for you to call when you land.
Oh my gosh.
You know what's interesting for the airliners is that the FMS suite and everything, 530 or whatever you guys have in all these airplanes, you can depict the Class B on your nav display.
Yeah.
The airliners can't. You got to go to your
paper
EFB
chart.
or a paper chart to reference the two, so
The
that
airliners
are not up to date with the general
the
aviation.
equivalent of a G1000?
No, hell no. We got a 430 with a pretty screen, you know. But even a 430 would show you the segments of the
Yeah, it
class. But
does.
you have to ask it what segment you're in, but we don't just, MD-11 has a great suite in it, but you have to go to EFB to find that, or a paper chart before we had EFBs.
Well, we try to tell the guys when they come in that example, they're coming in there, they're gonna have the localizer tuned up. They always do, even on a visual. Just stay on or above the glide slope and you'll be fine.
Yep, that's
You don't
always,
need to look at a paper chart.
that's
Doesn't
always a
matter.
great rule. That keeps you from landing at the wrong airport, which
That
a lot
never
of guys
happens.
have done.
That never happens.
Pardon?
That never
Oh,
happens.
no, not at all.
Go ahead, sir.
This new Metroplex being proposed northeast arrival coming in near the Bronco, and they get you down to 9,000 feet across the northwest corner of the Class B, and you're outside of it. So basically, you're gonna be violating this
No,
rule right
because
here.
you're not gonna be on the Bronco and landing DIA. You're gonna be landing at a satellite airport if you're on the Bronco or the Pinner when they get
Oh,
developed.
primaries.
Yeah,
no,
gotta be
still.
DIA.
That's a big argument for.
Well, and you're not gonna be in there as low as you think you are. You might get pushed down sometimes, but those are gonna start at 14,000 feet, hitting our airspace. So, when they get
Well,
done,
9,000, they're gonna drop you down to 9.
you're gonna probably get pushed down a lot to go to Centennial from the northwest,
Yes.
because they're coming off at 2.5, climbing a 10 with all these guys, or they're coming off 3.4, turning left,
That's what.
climbing a 10. And if we leave you at 11, they're all stuck at 10 and they're all wondering, why can't we climb? So we pushed one airplane down to launch 8 to climb above you. I guess it'd be how we kind of think of that.
How many folks you got flying over the 12,000 foot not calling in? 'Cause they can really
A
do
fair
it.
amount. 13.5, 14.5, 15.5, and
Just people crossing,
Yep.
wanna go straight.
and
don't
they're
wanna
1,200 and they never call, and we will turn airliners, we'll just turn them. If you
So
don't
as
see
long
the
as we're
traffic,
above
turn
the
them.
airspace, like Springs or whatever, it's like 10.2 or whatever, it'd be 10.3, and it's like, send somebody else to Meadow Lake.
A lot of guys do not want to talk to ATC because we will turn a VFR.
Before, yeah.
Well, not necessarily, it's just like to create separation. They don't want to be turned. They're going direct to their destination. They don't want to be bothered. I've talked to some pilots like that. I don't even want to talk to ATC. They're going to turn me.
Well, every time you talk, the radio, the music goes down was a problem.
So
I don't have
I
that.
take it, if somebody's crossing over your airspace, you would prefer to talk to them.
Yeah, we would prefer that, but it's not that big of a problem. I mean, if they're in the middle, they cut across an arrival gate and they're all descending from the flight levels down to 13 by the time they get close to the airport, and you come across at 15.5, I'm gonna stop the guys at 17 till I get across the route. I'm gonna give them plenty of buffer. I'm not gonna stop them 500 of them. 1,200 go climb for all I know, or turn. I don't know what it's gonna do. So I give 1,500 feet for traffic, and then I'll say, now descend or whatever. We just kinda handle it that way. Just easier.
But it's nicer if we call and say, hey, you guys okay if we transition? Or
You could even call, and if we say, we need you to turn heading 180 for traffic, you go, I'm not doing it. Okay, then we have to deal with that.
the magic word is unable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our rudder stuff.
Unable, please. You're not really required to do it. You can say, you know what, I'm going back to my 1,200 code and I'm on my merry way. So you can deal with me that way, or you can deal with me talking to you. If you want to be that, you know,
Me,
you can do that.
Me, I'd turn, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
We're only turning you in the interest of safety.
Yeah. I
We're
think
not turning you just to turn you.
You're not?
Unless you think that.
Those are the guys in
unless
South
you insult
Florida.
the Broncos. Unless you insult the Broncos, right? The pilot insults the Broncos, they get a hole.
No, we try not to do that.
We try not to ask approach and departure the latest scores, so you try to wait till center for that.
We actually give a lot of scores, especially during playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot of guys asking.
Sure, but I'm recording the game. But now I don't have to watch that, do I?
Yeah. Especially being spilled.
South Florida has a perfect record with me turning me on a vector and never giving me a return to home navigation without asking for it.
Nice.
100%, you have to ask them.
Well, that's a shame, because, you know, that's just not good service.
No.
Occasionally, you might have to ask if a guy gets busy or whatever, but for the most part, you should be cut loose as soon as you can be cut loose and not being tied to a vector or whatever.
And a vector towards a mountain, say even in LA basin, when there's weather and they're trying to vector people and you get a vector towards the mountains and you're below the tops, then you gotta keep an eye on that. That's your responsibility. And same here if you got one west. But traffic and weather is combined is a huge problem for these guys, so.
We get very busy sometimes, and these guys occasionally get away from us going westbound at a low altitude. It's like turn right immediately or whatever, or you're not climbing very well, we gotta turn you, or what have you, so we just,
So you get a warning going off, and you got
Yeah,
you got an IFR guy going into a mountain.
yeah, we get a lot to work.
So it's always behooves you to know where you are, even if you're on a vector.
I know I've taken off out of Springs, they do the VFR thing at night. They turn you westbound,
Right,
put you on a
that's
260 heading.
Yep.
I'm nervous. It's like, can I get a turn to the right? You know, I'll start bugging them pretty quick. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
Yeah, you're going right at Pike's Peak there.
Yeah. And you're at 8,500. That's not gonna last long, so.
Better get trained on your airplane. That helps.
They got the huge tire that's like 1,200 feet tall.
I don't know. They turn you pretty quick. I still get nervous. As soon as I turn the 260, I'm ready to
You
do
can tell in my
it.
voice.
If you've ever seen it, like when it's not night or whatever, I mean, it looks so close. It's like, ooh. Anyway. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So we were flying this morning, and it seems like the tower was very, very busy. And we got one runway closed. They tell us to line up for 28. And we checked in. They asked our altitude. They actually had a squawk. There was another airplane right near us. And they had him and us confused, it seemed like. they started asking everybody their altitude, and I could see them down there. So I said, I got them in sight, and then they had us turn all the way around and come back to the runway. What is the tower's responsibility when we're in Delta? Are they responsible to keep us from running into each other?
Technically, no. They're only responsible for ground separation, runway and movement areas is what they're responsible for. Takeoff and landing, got to have the required distance, like 6,000 airborne, 3,000 airborne, whatever the type of aircraft is, those things, kinds of things. They are trying their best to provide the sequence because it gets so busy. That's just what they do. Otherwise, it's going to be chaos. Everybody report on the downwind. You can't just clear everybody to land and just. So they try to provide that sequence and try to get it set up as best they can.
So Chuck, that was the tower you were speaking to here at Centennial?
Yep. So they had us confused with the other guy, and they basically, I mean, I could see them, but they were 300 feet below us maybe.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to clarify.
Were your call signs close to each
No,
other?
that was a, I can't remember, it was a pipe or something, I think. The point I wanted to make is they're doing their best to keep us apart from each other, but it's not their, if we ran into each other, they would not probably be, anything happen to them. Is that right, Jeff? Because it's not.
I wouldn't say that.
It's not
Because that
technically
happened
their
out in
job.
California 6 or 8 months ago with a jet and a prop airplane.
Yep,
It was a military Beach Jet 40, I think.
okay.
Forgot where that was, but
It was a brown field, wasn't it?
Brownfield, I think that's where it was. So they're going to have some repercussions from that, but ultimately it's look out the window for the pilot. You're responsible in a VFR kind of environment.
Yep.
Even if you're on an IFR flight plan on a visual approach,
Yeah.
it's see and be seen. You've got to look out the window. You can't disregard that, I guess.
Yeah, I think the point to be made is if you see them putting you into a situation where it's not looking good, don't, because we have so many pilots that come through and they just go, up, ATC told me to do that. Somebody turns crosswind in front of you or whatever, it's like, don't keep going. Fix the problem and then tell them what you're doing.
I've had that multiple times. We did 27 hours in the Bahamas, came back and within 5 miles of Centennial, almost had a midair. It's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. My traffic's like, traffic, where the hell is this guy? You know, and it's up I go, you know? I don't know if I busted anything or not, but it was irrelevant.
Hey, you know
It
what?
was amazing. I go, God, the tower, that guy was right on my nose.
Yeah. This is a busy
It's
airport, as you
27
guys
hours.
know, flying in and out here.
Yeah.
It gets chaotic and
It's
busy.
crazy, yeah.
Got to be careful.
Yeah, when you get clear, if you're on an instrument flight plan, you get cleared for visual, you're responsible for every aspect of getting you to the runway. They're done with it. So it'd be a.
I wasn't cleared
unless-
for visual yet. I was
Yeah, but
east still.
Okay, but if you're in visual conditions, you're still gonna say.
It
you're
was visual
responsible.
conditions,
So-
yeah.
Yep.
But,
Responsibility.
yeah, I don't know all the particulars of it, but when you say you accept the visual, we were always reticent until we were sure what all the situation was to accept the visual. Because now we're responsible for every aspect, altitude, navigation, and collision avoidance, terrain avoidance, everything. So, especially at night, where we did a lot of night operations, so.
I guess
Yeah,
the
we
other
weren't cleared
thing-
to land or anything. We were just coming into the airport environment. We called them, you know, and they were on the Mooney that was coming out, just hauling, and we were all coming in, and then it was.
Were they both under instrument?
You know, the
Flight
Mooney
plan?
coming up probably wasn't. I was.
Yeah, probably
You know,
were.
coming in, and it was. Thank God for the traffic. You know, it's like because you can't see that guy
Yeah.
coming at you. He's a dog.
Yeah. You
And it
can't
was-
see a 47
I can see the big
a mile
guys.
away.
Yeah, but the little guys, hard to see.
They're all hard to see at any distance, so.
And the traffic was wonderful. You could see if he was coming up or down, and I used to go the other way.
Yeah.
And it worked out okay.
So does our group here need to know anything about climb via and descend via in the airplanes we're flying typically or not?
No, you got to be flying a jet to get those. We don't do it with any prop airplanes.
That's
Not even the props that could actually do it.
That's what I could tell you about a violation was when they first started the climb via. The trouble is you're at DIA, I'm jump shooting back to Memphis. It's an a light MD-11, so it'll do 7,000 feet a minute climbing. And they turn you over to departure, between 6 and 7. and he was on it, I think he was on the X-Tam. So you're gonna cross, first fix it, maintain, at or below 10, and then there's a series of steps. But this is when the cleared via on departures first came up. And my memory is the controller, and this is where an FMS airplane can get you, and a high performance airplane can get you in trouble with a low crossing altitude, was that he said, you know, FedEx climb to 280. The first thing he said was climb to 280. Then he said via, the wording was just odd enough that the guy reached up and rolled 280 into the window. That cleared out all, in our airplane will honor all clearances if you've got a program in it. But as soon as he pulled, if he had rolled it to 280 and not pulled it to altitude select, it would have honored all the intermediates, but it would have been tough because he got the clearance late. He should have been preparing for that 10, and but he blew right through the 10. And but it was the wordage, and I wrote a slight defense of him, that the verbiage. So you need to say climb via first and not the top altitude. And because once he rolled it and pulled the button, it cleared everything, all the intermediate altitudes out.
We don't
But
even,
that's a long time, that was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
we never give the top altitude, it's on the SID. We say
Yeah.
climb via the SID.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
at that time, whatever it was at that time, he said cleared to flight level 28, cleared to 280 via, then he said via the SID.
Yeah,
You know, it
that's
was
bad
that,
phraseology.
it was right at the time that the climb via, what had been 13 or 12, somewhere in that time frame. And we all said, you know, we knew he made the bust, but it was that first verbiage that caused him to roll 280 and pull it. And we pull when it means you're clearing out all the intermediate
Yeah.
fixes. And
So little piston guys don't go out with SIDs, we just come in with stars.
Well, yeah, you'll do the legacy stars. You know, well, now you're coming to Centennial, the Jets are gonna do, what is it, the Zombie and the Dun? And then they're gonna be the Bronco and the Penner up north when those get done. And then, yeah, the props are gonna come in on the legacy. You'll be on the powder going to, is that Mile High, powder going to.
but normally the reason is that prop airplanes can't make the crossing restrictions on the way out.
Right.
And they just get in the way of the fast guys, so
Yeah.
it just doesn't, it's not feasible.
So
Next
citizen
one.
stars will never be given to a prop.
No. Not unless it's a prop for star, a star for props
Go
only.
down by the ocean in Texas.
Okay, because I know, well, we have SIDs for props.
Yeah.
Uh,
I haven't seen the stars around here.
Top out.
You don't have any, the kind of SIDs you're talking about for props. The SIDs that we're talking about out of the DIA is, the climb Dias.
Yeah.
Props are not gonna get those.
It'll say.
Yeah, ours is like the planes, whatever number it is now, departure, that you just basically.
Plane 7 departure McCook transition, that's a legacy.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Now we have to climb you and do all that stuff. You just climb to the initial altitude.
I'm just thinking like Denver 9 departure. Is it?
That's a radar vector SID.
Yeah.
Some of them will say turbojet aircraft
Yeah.
only on them, if
Yep.
you'll see it.
One thing that would be incredibly helpful is when I was in Pueblo today doing IFR stuff, you know, when you call and you get your instrument, you start writing it all down. They should say, you know, it's like such and such departure. I don't know if that's a radar. They should just say radar vectors.
Well,
Like a Denver 8 radar vector. Something like that. So we know it's a radar vector. If it's a strange area, then it's like, what's the Denver 8 mean?
well, we think it's better to give you the Denver 8 and you look at the plate and you know what the Denver 8 is. If we say radar vectors, you're not gonna pull it out. Maybe there's something on there that you need to comply with. So it would behoove yourself, in my opinion, to pull out the Denver, whatever it is. If you're unfamiliar, you need to pull it out and look at it.
Well, that doesn't happen sometimes.
Well, it's also
So that's what
communications
happens.
as well, right? Because it
It's
sends
a
you
lot
out somewhere and then
Yeah.
off to your en route. So it also keeps
Yeah.
you out of the other stuff that's around.
Yeah.
So I remember
But
the
maybe they
flying
could
back.
say Denver 8 radar vector.
Sometimes they do, but most of them just say the departure.
Yeah, I know.
Some of us, I don't even give the Denver 9. I say you're clear to your radar vectors. I don't even say via that, because that's all I'm gonna do anyway. I'm not gonna that avoids you from having to pull that out.
Yeah, that would be helpful if they're exchange.
So that's a good
That was
question,
helpful.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Lost comm,
So it was good
IFR.
practice.
Well, I knew it was.
And you got me on the easterly heading, I'm heading for Akron or whatever. And then I lose lost comm, I lose the radios, and it says go to what, the mile high VOR at a certain altitude. Is that what you really want us to do?
No, but we are all aware of what those do, and if we lose comm,
That's
we
what you're
will
expecting?
move airplanes, because we expect that they're probably gonna do this, because that's what it says to do.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll have to,
What would you prefer we do?
well,
Legally, we have to do that.
yeah, you do. I can't say what well, obviously I'd like you to turn around and go land at Centennial.
Switch the radio.
But, you know, that may not be the best idea at that time, and then, you know, I'll get,
But you're
it's like,
prepared
hey, he
for it.
said to do this in that meeting.
Lost comm, you're prepared, you know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna head to mile high and
Yeah.
and go from there.
Mhm.
So we're gonna follow the exact procedure.
Yeah, if you, I think it's after, is it 10 minutes? I haven't read it for a while.
I think so.
After 10 minutes of lost comm, it's time to do the lost comm procedure.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so used to the Denver 9. Sunday I was leaving Fullerton. And they said radar vectors Anaheim 9. And I didn't know the procedure. And I got in all kinds of trouble. I got vectored all over Los Angeles airspace until I finally had the procedure.
yeah, because they're gonna give you radar vectors to that departure.
To the
is
departure.
what they were gonna do.
Yeah, I learned that one.
But if you lose your radio, I imagine the most common reason would be because you have an electrical problem. In which case, you're probably also going to lose, like if you lose both radios, it's gonna be, you know, not a problem with the radio, it'll be like electrical. Because otherwise you'd be with a backup radio. But then you would also lose your transponder. So you can't really rely on, you know, putting in a transponder code.
Well, if you end up in an emergency situation as a pilot,
Yeah.
you do whatever you need to do. And we're gonna move, if you lose a transponder, we're still gonna see your primary.
That was my question. You're
I turn
still
around and
gonna
land at
see-
Centennial. That's what I do.
You're still gonna see the blip.
Okay.
And you're gonna see that the transponder went away,
Yeah.
and you're gonna say, maybe that's a problem.
Yeah, and plus we're calling you and you're not answering.
Now you're saying maybe that's a problem.
Yeah.
So you're gonna watch what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. We're responsible for you as an IFR
Yeah.
plane.
And then, you know, the first is if you're able, if you're in VMC, to go somewhere and land in VMC.
Yeah.
So if that's a possibility, whether it's running over, you know, back to Centennial or over to Front Range or whatever, that's, but you're gonna be looking for that too.
Yes.
So you're
We'll
gonna,
be calling the towers. Hey, we may have a non-radar or non-radio aircraft coming your way. Primary target only, they're here. You may see them. They may come in and land at your place, you know, whatever.
You're
We
gonna
start
watch
getting
where
on the horn on
we're
towers.
you're gonna watch where we're going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I always wondered that, because they say, well, squawks in 600, and it's like, okay, but it ain't working. So,
We get more 7600 codes that, you know, in that situation than electrical failures. It, you know, it's not that uncommon once in a while, I guess, you know, it's like, hey, this guy's squawking the radio or whatever, so it's like, and it puts a big red thing on the scope, it's like, you know, it says Nordo. So,
The jacks from your headset get pulled out for some reason, now you flat around, you think you're lost
Yep.
comm.
Well, you are.
Well, you are. Just another way, you might check
Yeah,
those.
another
I don't know.
Yeah,
Another way to go lost comm.
make sure you've got to turn the volume up, because I've
The
turned it
volume
down to
up,
listen to the
yeah.
ATIS and forgot to turn it up. And I turn it up and I hear them yelling at me, it's like, oops, I'm here.
Yeah, a little self-induced. but,
Yeah.
you know.
I think you had a question, sir?
I was coming VFR Limex intersection into Centennial. Little weather to the south, so I'm skirting to the north. I come across the Aurora Reservoir, North Shore, basically. And controller says, "You aware of the Buckley transition area?" And I said, "Yes," but I wasn't.
But you meant you are now.
I am now.
I am now. Yeah, I was like following. And so, 7,500 coming across there, so I never did get an answer from anybody about that. I
What is it?
wonder what,
Well, if you're on a discrete code and you're getting traffic advisors and radar flight following,
yes.
and you're about to enter the Delta at Buckley, he needs to call the tower and point you out, or he needs to turn you and say, turn 30 degrees left vector for airspace or whatever. If he calls you and says, are you aware of Delta over there? It's like, yeah, aren't you calling them?
Now we know what to say.
Now we know.
Now we know what to say.
There you are.
Put Jeff on.
Jeff
Put
says
on
call
the-
him.
Is Jeff over there?
Tell Jeff, push
Doing
that speaker button.
practice to 17 left there, and you're on a wide
I know.
downwind, you'll be going right at it.
Yeah, that's a tough area up
we
there.
have asked
Even for us
just-
to vector and
Yeah,
get you to the right altitudes, you
Yeah.
won't be above the glide slope, if you're doing that one,
Yeah.
LPV, and it's a
How
tough
come they don't
area.
let us shoot approaches at Buckley?
You can shoot approaches there, you just can't land. In
Right.
fact, they got a GPS now to
Years
3.
ago, there was an approach plate for Buckley, and
There
it kind
still
of
is.
disappeared.
As far as I know, it's still there. People shoot approaches at Buckley,
You just can't land, really?
you cannot land. You gotta
Because
go
years
back.
ago, we went there all the time to shoot approaches, and about 10 years ago, the chart disappeared from the jets.
I think they pulled them out with 9/11. They took a lot
Did
of
they?
military charts out.
Maybe they did.
Oh,
You
okay.
can do it if you get an approach
If you find
plane.
a chart.
We'll vector to that.
You need
Have
to
you
do
done
practice
it?
approaches into Buckley. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, that's interesting, okay.
They have a new approach too, it just came out. GPS.
It helps that.
Those guys at Buckley have always been really.
They do?
Oh, they're very good to
Yeah.
work with.
They're great.
I
I love
had a-
Buckley Tower.
I was torturing this poor student one time. And we were flying low under the B airspace. We were gonna go through the Buckley airspace, and then I had to go to Cherry Creek and contact Centennial. It was really tough. I was really beating him up. And as we were going into Buckley, the Buckley controller said, hey, could you do a left 360? I've got 2 F-15s that are cleared to take off to the south, and then they're unrestricted to 20,000. And I said, yeah. So we cranked it around real quick and came back around and watched both those guys come off the runway and go vertical. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the controllers there have never given me any trouble about going through their airspace.
No,
They've
they
been
won't.
great.
They're good guys.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, don't land though, there's probably a lot of paperwork, and there will be,
Oh, yeah.
will be
You will be
M16s
asked, you will be
involved.
met at the airplane by
Yeah.
guys in black coats and sunglasses probably.
Exactly.
So all military bases are like that in the country, then?
I don't know about that, but Buckley is.
You flying to Edwards, no problem.
You might want to call them for that.
Try it, you definitely want to.
Give me your card, I will.
He said I could do it. Okay.
For our permission.
Just don't land, just don't land.
Is there a good time to fly into the IA like at some point in the evening?
They've gotten
Or
so
night?
more restrictive on that. In fact, I'm gonna ask the AOPA to get on a little bit. Because they're talking about how you can't do this at this time and that time, and I was like, aren't you a federally funded airport? And you're gonna tell all these people they can't do all this? And it was like, I don't know how that works, but the city and county of Denver, they just came out with a letter a couple, 2-3 months ago. If we're gonna do a practice approach, it can only be to this runway, it can only be during these times. You can't, and it has some other restrictions in there, and it's like,
Make up charts.
I don't know, it's not even worth coming in. We used to do it all the time, based on traffic, if we could do it 10:30, 11 o'clock at night till, 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
But, and some of that still exists, but if we're not landing that runway, they're gonna say, we can't do that. So, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in Atlanta, we can, 11 o'clock at night was no, they were happy to have something to do.
Yeah.
So maybe not 11, maybe 11:30 or 12, but 5 runways there, they were fine, come on.
Yep.
Chuck, will Buckley give you a PAR over there?
No, they don't have PO.
Oh, they don't, okay. I was gonna say, that's a great
You
one
can
to
get
give a
one
shot
up,
at.
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne does one, huh? They got a reserve unit up there or something?
Guard or reserve, they got 130s up
Yeah,
there.
that's usually where you, it's interesting to do if you
No, it's
haven't ever
fun.
done one before.
Good
so.
stuff.
I'll leave you with one other piece of information, probably inviting, anyway. If you ever get bad service or feel like you were mistreated, call us. Every phone call is investigated. We pull the tapes, we have quality control, go back and go, okay, let's check it out. And they'll listen to it and see what's going on. And we do a lot of our performance management on controllers that way, because a lot of times we don't even know as a supervisor what's going on, because the controller won't tell us and the pilot never calls.
So,
So
TRACON, how many fully qualified controllers have you got, and what's the normal complement?
I think we're allotted 74, we have about 62, something like that. We got a lot of people in training though.
Okay.
A lot of people in training.
So, yeah, that's lovely.
Hey Jeff, on last commo, do you ever get a phone call from a pilot on his cell phone, like for example, telling that, hey, I lost all my radio?
I can't think of one, no. I mean, that sounds like a great idea if your phone will work in the airplane.
It usually does around 10 or
Yeah.
below.
The problem is finding the number. If you don't have it,
I didn't know if it was logged, if there was
it's
anywhere.
kind
in-
of hard to find. It's not like widely published, the TRACON phone number.
Really enjoyed your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Great fun.
Appreciate it.
We meet here every Tuesday with you, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday every month, second.
And, let's see, we'll try and get another tour, I'm forgetting when it was, maybe next month sometime.
Come on over.
Those are great if you haven't been on them.
We'd love to plug the controllers in with, the pilots in with the controllers. And a lot of them are amazed how much coordination is going on between three guys sitting there that's not on the radio. Hey, my guys at 9, will you stay that guy at 8? I'm on a 320 heading here, and they're just talking. And that's how they do a lot of their separation, their coordination like that. They're sitting right next to each other.
And what's fun is you get to put a face with a voice that you've been hearing all this time, and Tower's the same way, you know. You go over there and you go, oh, you're a real person, are you? Okay. I don't have to be scared of
Is
you.
Dandy Day still there?
No, he retired many years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
In Memphis, I used to.
He still lives there, yeah. Dandy Day?
Yeah.
They were either lower.
All righty. A bunch of stuff going on. Up at Heliops does sponsors these safety seminars, and they're pretty good. May 18th, Thursday.
Strategy.
Hope it's not a strategy. And they get you pizza. So, IA is having an open house on June 3rd here, and you'll be able to crawl around airplanes, and they'll have the grill fired up. And do we know what kind of airplane? Are we going to have any special things that we know of?
I would imagine we're gonna have our Cirrus friends bring airplanes over, but,
Okay.
yeah.
And speaking of that, is this Thursday is something serious, but
Yeah, but that's more for instructors.
okay. Summer weather hazards. So I'm going to call you our TRACON rock star. Now I call Mike Setonich our weather rock star. So now we've got two rock stars. If you haven't been to one of Mike's seminars, you're missing out on great stuff. Summer weather hazards, and I can't remember whether he's going to go over SQTs a lot or not in that one.
Is that gonna be at the hotel over
No,
there?
that'll be here.
Here, okay.
So, and then if you want to know about our complete proficiency approach program, talk to Chuck or me. It is an awesome program to help people stay current and proficient, primarily in their Cirrus, throughout the year. So, and that, unfortunately, we're having that the same day as the weather seminar, but just ask us about that. And with that, June 13 is our next meeting here. Anybody know who Greg Fife is? A couple of you guys have seen. He, I believe, will be coming and talking to us about some accidents, so. That's it. Thank you for being here, everybody. Look forward to seeing you.